This entitled mum is incredibly reckless with her child. She even placed her little one in somebody else's food, and then has the audacity to blame the person whose meal she just ruined. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. I am sitting in the lunchroom at work, eating my soup while watching Fresh Prince on my phone, and some woman who I've never met before enters the lunchroom, and without even looking, drops their baby carrier, diaper bag, and shopping bags. We work across from a mall. At the table where I am eating, the baby carrier catches the edge of the bowl, throwing delicious pea soup up into the air and onto the baby carrier, and all over one of the shopping bags, which had been set down on a chair. It was actually really impressive, and I'm kind of bummed that no one else saw it happen. Before the pea soup has even landed, the lady has left the lunchroom and is gone to talk to our boss. I take a look at the baby, and it doesn't look like the baby got any soup on him, and isn't burned, so my good deed for the day is done. I leave the mess. I only have 30 minutes for lunch, and this chick just wasted 10 minutes of it. I'm not about to spend the rest of my lunch cleaning her mess, and head out the door to grab some McDonald's across the street. Wanted to let EM know what she did on my way out, but she was in my boss's office when the doors closed, and I was hungry. I get back from McDonald's with 1 minute to spare to get back to my desk. I get back, log in, and immediately my supervisor comes over and gives me the "we're not supposed to eat at our desk" talk, and I tell him what happened. He walks over to the lunchroom, peeks inside. He chuckles a little, then turns back to me. "Eat your lunch," he says. Once I'm about halfway through my McChicken, my supervisor tells me to go to the boss's office. So I do. My boss and a very ticked off EM are sitting there. My boss asks why I dumped my soup all over EM's things. I didn't. Were you the one eating pea soup in the lunchroom? Yes. So how did EM's stuff get covered in pea soup? Well, I was sitting down eating and she walked in and dropped the baby carrier on my food while I was eating. Soup went everywhere, and I wasn't about to spend the rest of my lunch cleaning it or go the rest of the day without eating because some person I've never met is throwing babies around the lunchroom. So I went across the street and bought another lunch. EM gets shrill. "He's lying. He did it on purpose, and now all of my new clothes are ruined. He could have burned my baby. You're going to pay me back for everything you destroyed. The carrier," already covered in dry puke, "the clothes," her fault, "and my purse." Didn't have a purse. What could I possibly gain by dumping soup on your things? You know what? Screw it. Boss, just go look under the baby carrier. What's under the baby carrier? Proof that she's lying. EM gives me the most confused look I've ever seen someone make. It was a combination of "what are you talking about" and "why are you doing this to me?" I think she actually thought I did damage her stuff on purpose, and she could not believe that she could have done something so stupid. Which is funny because there has been an unsupervised infant in the lunchroom for 30 minutes now. EM chases after boss, and I am following right behind them. When we get to the lunchroom, a small crowd had gathered around the baby because of that sweet natural 18 charisma, and the boss asks everyone to clear out. Boss didn't even have to move the carrier. Sure enough, under the carrier, half sticking out, they find the paper towel I had put down as a placemat, the plastic utensils I had set out, the plate I had under my bowl, and the baggie of saltines I had brought in from home. My boss sighs. "EM, go home." "What about my stuff?" "Take your things and go home." As it turns out, she was one of the supervisors who had been on maternity leave since before I started. She had come in because her and the boss were friends, and she wanted to come by and show off all the clothes she had bought now that her figure had come back. She blew her entire check on clothes that are now covered in pea soup and can't be returned. She took half my McChicken on the way out and threw it in the garbage. My boss gave me a McDonald's gift card that she keeps for rewards, most calls, best reviews, etc., and gave me an extra break to go get another McChicken. I start supervisor training next week. Glad I won't have to work under EM. How can you be so negligent with your own baby that you don't even care where you're placing them? Like, you make this big mess and you blame everybody else because you didn't even realize how you were placing down your own child. I taught kindergarten many moons ago. One particular average student, who was once in a while a behavior issue, had a challenging mother. Every once in a while, EM would question, with a condescending look, why I was teaching something. It was the mandated curriculum in our city? Overall, not really horrible stuff I couldn't handle. Until the moving up ceremony. Now, this particular student was late almost every day. They had to be in at school at 8:20 AM. I gave the kids the benefit of the doubt that if they entered the school on time, it might take them 10 minutes to get to my classroom. If they were late downstairs, they were given a late pass. I kept all late passes in a file. Each time the child came in late, past 8:30 AM and or had a late pass, I marked her late. I did the same for every child in my class. On the day we had the moving up ceremony, kids tend to leave school for the day right after the ceremony. I handed out the final report card with the total number of days late and absent for the year. Each other report card only had the amount for that quarter, so it shouldn't have been a surprise either. I was in my classroom, changing and getting ready to go out for lunch, when EM called me. She was upset about the number of latenesses. Over 125 days. We only have 181 days of school in a school year. She started yelling at me that I was wrong. I told her that according to my records, those were the number of absences, and I had spoken to her about it at past parent-teacher conferences. Then she said, "You are putting my child's educational future at risk because you have marked her late." I bit my lip. I don't remember how I was able to politely get her off the phone, but we ended the conversation. I shrug it off. A few minutes later, I get another call. This call is from some man claiming to be the family's caseworker checking up on the student's year-end progress. I was not aware that this family had a caseworker, let alone an open case with children's services. We are typically told. I politely told the man that I could not speak to him about my student because I could not confirm his identity. He would have to call the office. He was not happy. I had a bad feeling about that call, and that it might be a setup. I later took my teaching assistant out for a traditional end-of-year lunch. As we were on our way to see EM, she confronts me again. My assistant didn't trust the EM's physical stance and felt that it shouldn't be a private conversation. I finally tell EM that she can go in and speak to administration if she feels what I did was wrong. Later, as I am back in my classroom starting to clean and pack away things for the summer, my assistant principal comes in to ask me about the latenesses. EM is downstairs in the office, complaining about me. I told her how I came to that particular number. I even give her the piles of late passes. She leaves and I continue to clean up. Once again, my AP comes back up to my room with a huge smile. Apparently, I had miscounted the number of latenesses. They reviewed the late passes in the late book and I was off by 3. They added the 3 extra days I missed to her final report card. The next year I looped up to 1st grade. We always reconfigured the classes each year, so kids wouldn't stay together year after year. So about half of my kindergarten class would have me for their teacher again. We had already set the classes up for 1st grade, but due to EM's confrontation outside of school, and my assistant being a witness, I asked that the student not be in my class for 1st grade. Administration agreed. That September, EM showed up in the office after dismissal on the first day, demanding to know why her daughter wasn't in my class. I am very glad admin backed me up again, and sadly over the years I watched that typical kid with some behaviors turn into a giant EK with massive behavior problems. Consistently late. I bet entitled mums like that actually love teachers. It might not seem like it, but if you think about it, what they really want to do is shove all the responsibility and blame onto someone else so that they don't take any personal responsibility for themselves. It's not the kid's fault that they're late, they're in kindergarten. It's 100% the parent's fault, but not in the eyes of the parent. I'm not from America, but I did live there when I was younger, and do speak the language pretty well. I was visiting overseas with my service dog at the time. Me and my American friend, MAF, went to a local skating rink that allowed service dogs, and helped me skate with my dog next to me. Also, MAF spoke Korean, so when it was just me and him talking, we would talk in Korean. So MAF and I were taking a break, just minding our own business talking about different things. In Korean, of course. Nice kid, NK, was at the small arcade near where we were sitting when he heard us. He was confused and came over to us and asked us what we were saying. MAF explained to him that we were speaking in another language, and even taught him how to say hi in Korean. NK also asked to pet Mira, which I explained to him that he couldn't pet her in case something were to happen to me, and he surprisingly understood and didn't complain. I guess EM wasn't very happy with the fact that her son came back to her speaking Korean. because the next thing I know, she's coming over to us asking why her son was speaking Chinese. Here's how that conversation went. Are you the two people that taught my son naughty things in Chinese? No, he was at the arcade near us when he heard us talking in her native language, Korean. He asked us what we were saying and I explained to him that we were speaking Korean, and I taught him how to say hi in Korean too. Bullcrap. I know you taught him how to say bad things in Chinese. She then looked over at me and said the craziest thing I've ever heard. Also, quick note, I don't look like your typical Asian. I look like I'm American. It's complicated, but that's how it is. And you don't look disabled. Why do you have a service dog? She had seen Mira under the table. Also, talk in English, you're clearly American. I'm not American. I pulled out my passport that showed that I was not an American citizen, but that I was a Korean citizen. EM was baffled. I thought that was the end of it when she walked off, but I should have known that it wasn't, because not even 10 minutes later, she came back with a manager. This is them. Can I pull you two to the side for a sec? We were confused, but we went with him. EM came up to me saying that, looks at MAF, you assaulted her, looks at me, and that you tried to take NK. Is this true? We were baffled. We had to take a minute to process it. This isn't true. She came over to us, accusing us of teaching her son bad things in Chinese, after he had overheard us talking in Korean, and had asked us what we were saying. I had explained to him that we were talking in Korean, and taught him how to say hi. We sorted things out, and after what seemed like 3 hours, EM and NK were kicked out. I felt bad for the kid as he was actually super nice and didn't act entitled. His mum was definitely another story, but we aren't gonna say anything to him. The manager apologized to us and even gave us a free pizza to share. When you're a kid and wanting to learn a new language, of course you want to learn all the bad words. So I don't know if the kid lied to the mum and said he learned a bad word, like he spoke the Korean word and then was like, yeah, that means this. Or if the mum just made the assumption, well, my kids are bad kids, so of course he's learning bad language. Hey Voicey, love your vids. They're the best thing to watch after a hard day of work. This happened to me about 2 months ago, but I finally found some free time to talk about it. Before we get into the story, a bit of backstory. I recently bought a new laptop, an HP Stream, from Amazon so I could start taking online classes and type up my books. The thing cost $200 on Amazon, and seeing that's about how much I make from my job, I work part-time. I needed to work my butt off to get the thing, and to have enough to cover for basic necessities, food, gas for my car, etc. Until I got paid. I took as many shifts as I could from my coworkers. It got to the point where one of my managers asked me what I was doing taking so many shifts. When payday came around, I had enough to get the laptop, a new pair of headphones I had my eyes on, and a 2-year warranty for my laptop in case it breaks. I'm freaking proud of having this thing. I worked my butt off for this laptop, and I take great care of it. It's also my first personal computer. Seeing every computer I had in the past, I've had to share with my family, so it's a huge deal to me. Okay, enough of the backstory, let's get into the main story. I'm sitting in a cafe in the plaza I work at, typing on my laptop and listening to music. I usually come here a lot before my shift to work on stuff. I'm a regular and most of the staff there knows me. While I'm working, someone sits at the big table I usually sit at, and I just peek over at them. It's a woman, maybe in her 40s, and her daughter, possibly in her 20s. I don't think anything of it until I see the woman eyeballing me, and her daughter is on her phone. Now it's time for our amazing cast. Octo is me, EP, I'm pretty sure this doesn't need explaining. CD is chill daughter, aka my savior. B barista, sorry you got wrapped into this dude. CM cafe manager. I look over at the EP and smile. Everything okay? That's a nice laptop. Thanks, it's a HP Stream. How does it work? Does it run smooth? It's okay, as long as you aren't planning on doing anything crazy with it. Where did you get it? By this point, CD had put her phone down and is looking at EP. Amazon. Got it for under 200 bucks. Can CD have it? CD just puts her head in her hands and I look at her confused. What? We want your laptop. CD is starting school soon and needs a computer for assignments. I'll pay you double for what you paid for it. Mom, stop. We can look it up when we get home. Quiet, CD. Let me do this. It's not for sale, sorry. I worked really hard for this laptop and… Oh, come on. It's not like you're doing anything with it. It'll probably just sit collecting dust in a few months. Sorry, but no. EP's face turns red and she glares at me. I just move to another table, her eyes following me while I move. A few minutes later, I go up to the counter because I want a drink with my laptop under my arm. I chat with B a bit while he takes my order. Then I hear CD yell out, "Mom, what the frick?" I turn around and see EP barreling at me, looking like a freaking bull charging at a bullfighter. I know what she's after, so I stand on my tiptoes and put my laptop above my head as I move out the way. "Give me back my daughter's laptop, you freaking thief!" "This is my laptop. Leave me alone, you nut." EP turns towards B. "Call the police. This girl stole my daughter's laptop." "Mom, shut up." This is Octo's laptop. She comes in here almost every morning and… "So you're siding with the thief?" "That's really her laptop. EP then manages to grab the laptop out of my hand and gives the most devilish grin I've ever seen. By this point, CD is coming up to EP and smiles at her. "Hey mom, can I see that laptop?" "Of course." EP hands CD the laptop and gives her a chuckle before handing it back to me. EP's face goes beet red, and not even a second later after CD hands me the laptop, I book it into the restroom and lock the door. EP is hot on my tail and bangs on the restroom door. Someone at this point has gotten the cafe's manager, and he's talking to EP. This is what I heard from inside the restroom. "I'm sorry ma'am, but I'm going to have to ask you and your daughter to leave the premises before we call security." "That freaking thief stole my daughter's laptop. Why aren't you calling security on her?" "Ma'am, Octo comes in here almost every day with that exact laptop. Now please leave before I call." "I want to talk to your manager right now." "I am the manager, and I want you out of my cafe in 10 seconds before I call security and have them remove you from the premises. Now get moving." I heard heavy footsteps and swearing before CM knocks on the restroom door and tells me that EP has left. I leave the restroom and CM apologizes profusely and offers to give me my drink on the house with a free cookie. I agree to it and walk to work with a free drink, cookie, and my laptop unharmed. Never saw EP or CD again. I talked to B a few days ago about if he saw EP or CD again. He told me that CD comes in occasionally without EP. The cafe was actually looking into getting EP banned, seeing she did stuff like this almost every time she came into the cafe. Yikes. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.